The stars above looked quiet, but the message they carried was not. A small ship named Frontier Dawn moved slowly beyond the edge of the solar system. It was the farthest any human had gone. Most people on Earth had no idea where this ship was or what it was doing, but inside, a team of explorers worked with strong hearts and clear goals. Commander Eric Mason stood near the main screen, eyes locked on a strange signal that had just appeared. It was weak and full of static, but it was real. A call for help. Dr. Lily Carter leaned closer to the monitor, her fingers moving fast across the keys. Her voice was calm, but there was something in her tone that made the room feel colder. This signal is not from a ship. It's coming from a planet. One we've never seen before, she said. The planet showed up on the screen. It looked broken, and the sky around it burned with strange clouds. The ground was black and torn. Strong winds moved dust and fire like waves in an ocean. No human had ever stepped foot there. In fact, old records found by Earth's new space program said this was a death world, a place too dangerous for life. The crew looked at the screen and felt something deep inside. This planet had people, or at least something like people, and they were calling for help. The crew of Frontier Dawn was told to avoid such places. Warnings came from many other worlds. Do not go there. Do not try to save them. Let them fade. But Eric Mason was not a man who turned away from those in need. We are not running. Set a course. We land and we help, he said. There were no cheers, only silent nods. They all knew the risk, but none of them hesitated. They believed in the mission, not to conquer, not to study, but to protect. The ship moved into the planet's sky. Lightning struck around them. The heat made the metal groan. Shields screamed under pressure. But they pushed through. They landed near the edge of a shattered city where tall towers had fallen. Smoke rose from the cracks in the ground. They stepped out wearing heavy suits. The air was not safe to breathe. The wind pushed against them like an angry hand. But they walked forward. Ryan Brooks, one of the team's best soldiers, saw movement in the rubble. He ran ahead and lifted a broken stone. Under it, a small girl lay crying. She looked up with wide eyes. Her face was marked with dust and burns, but she was alive. Lily rushed over. She scanned the child, then picked her up in her arms. She's breathing, weak but stable, she said. More people were found, some hurt, some hiding, some too scared to move. The humans helped each one. They gave food, clean water, and medicine. They built a small base from parts of the ship. It stood like a beacon in the dark world. Far away, across the stars, many eyes were watching. They had seen planets burn before. They had seen other races run from death. Never had they seen humans walk into the fire and stay. The name Deathworlders began to spread, not with fear, but with respect. These were people who lived on a hard world and carried that strength with them. Where others ran, they stood. Where others gave up, they fought to save strangers. And in that broken place, a new chapter began. The fire still burned in the skies of the dead planet, but the humans did not stop. Every day brought new dangers, but they kept moving. The crew of Frontier Dawn worked in shifts. They built shelters from broken stone and metal. They made water from steam. They kept the sick warm and the weak safe. Commander Eric Mason walked through the camp each morning, checked every station. He spoke to every team. His voice was calm and strong. The people trusted him, gave them courage just by being near. Dr. Lily Carter spent most of her time in the medical tent. She treated burns, broken bones, and sickness. Her hands were tired, but she never stopped. Each life saved made her eyes shine with quiet pride. Natalie Ford, the ship's lead engineer, had started building power lines using parts from their landing vessel. She used solar panels and old tech she found in the ruins. The machines on the planet were strange, but she studied them until they made sense. Oh, they were not alone anymore. Word of their mission had reached other human ships. Drones in deep space sent back video of their rescue work. People on Earth watched. They saw their own kind walking through fire to help strangers. Some cried, some cheered. All felt something rise inside them. Ryan Brooks led the search teams. He was strong and quiet. The winds rose or the ground shook. He never flinched. He carried a broken boy across a field of ash with flames behind him. He didn't say a word. But when the boy woke up and smiled, Ryan smiled back. They saved dozens in the first week. Old men, children, even people who had given up hope. They were brought back to the camp, fed, washed, and treated. Slowly, their fear faded. In the night, loud roars came from the distance. The planet was alive in its own way. Fires moved like rivers. The wind could lift a grown man. The ground cracked without warning. But the humans had come from a world that taught them how to fight, how to build, and how to survive. They set up heat shields around the camp. They dug trenches to redirect fire. They made warning systems with scrap and code, and it worked. The camp grew stronger each day. Queen Elena Grant arrived on the second week. Her ship came with supplies and more hands to help. She was tall, calm, and full of purpose. She walked through the camp with quiet steps and sharp eyes. She did not speak like a ruler. She spoke like a mother. Her first visit was to the medical tent. She sat beside a young girl who had lost her parents in the fire. She held the girl's hand. No cameras, no speeches, just kindness. The crew noticed. The people noticed. She became a light in the dark. Eric met with her each night to discuss plans. They talked about rebuilding the city, not just saving lives. She agreed. This was not just a rescue, it was a beginning. People on the planet, once scared and broken, started to help. They cleaned, they carried, they shared what little they had. They saw the humans not as outsiders, but as brothers and sisters. Far across the stars, many were still watching. Their screens showed humans lifting stone, standing in fire, smiling in storms. They had seen strong species before, but never like this. Not with heart, not with soul. The story of the Deathworlders grew, not because of their weapons, but because of their hands. Not because of their fearlessness, but because of their care. And the galaxy began to listen. The sky above the ruined world had changed. It was still red and full of smoke, but now it had hope. The humans had done what no one expected. They had turned fire into safety and fear into trust. But something new came. A message was sent to Queen Elena Grant. It was not a warning, it was a challenge. A group of powerful leaders from far systems sent word. They watched everything. They had seen how humans walked into storms and saved lives. But now they wanted to test them, at an old tradition called the Trials of Endurance. It was used to choose the strongest race in the galaxy. The trials had 5 parts. Each one tested the body, the mind, and the spirit. No group had ever finished all 5 trials without losing someone. Some gave up, some failed, some broke. Queen Elena did not look away. She stood up in front of her people and gave a short answer. We accept. There was no talk of glory, no loud speech. She said it because it was right. If they passed, humanity would not just be seen, they would be heard. They would have a voice strong enough to change the galaxy. She met with Commander Eric Mason and the team that would join the trials. They chose 5. Not the strongest or the fastest, but the most balanced. People who had heart and skill. Eric Mason would lead the team. Dr. Lily Carter would be the healer. Ryan Brooks would be their shield. Natalie Ford would handle machines and systems. Jake Adams, a quiet thinker, would be the mind behind their moves. They left the broken planet with the hopes of many behind them. The people they saved stood and waved. Some cried. Some stayed silent. But all believed. Their ship was small, but fast. It moved through space like a knife through wind. They reached the trial station after 2 days. The first challenge was called the Orbital Descent. It tested courage and teamwork. They had to drop from space in single pods and land on a rocky moon without help. Storms moved through the sky. Rocks floated in the air. One wrong move could end it all. Each team was sent alone. The humans went last. All eyes watched as 5 pods flew down. Flames rose behind them. Winds pushed them side to side. Each one landed safely. Eric hit the ground hard. He opened the hatch and checked his suit. No damage. Then he called out to the others. One by one, they replied. All safe. But the test was not over. They had to reach the top of a tall mountain before sunset. It was high and cold. The ground was sharp. The path was narrow. Lily helped Jake when he tripped. Ryan carried Natalie's tools when her pack broke. Eric found the best paths. They moved like one. At the top, a light blinked. They touched it together. The trial was done. No one had seen a team finish it without a single injury in many years. The second trial came next. A mind test inside a maze full of false turns and traps. Jake led this one. He read the clues, solved the codes, and guided them out before time ran out. 2 trials passed. 3 remained. The humans had not shouted or bragged. They only worked, helped, and moved forward. And across the stars, people who once looked down on Earth now looked again. Not with doubt, but with respect. The third trial was not just hard, it was dangerous. It tested truth and trust. Each team had to work with another group, had to cross a broken space station that spun out of control. Parts of it were open to space. Gravity was lost in many areas. The only way to pass was to move together and stay alive. The humans were told to join a team from another world. The other team had failed the second trial and was angry. They blamed the rules. They blamed the Watchers. They did not like the humans. When the trial began, Eric Mason gave clear orders. Stay close. Watch your corners. Do not rush. Natalie checked the tools. Ryan kept to the front. Lily stayed near Jake, who was reading the map from a small screen. The station was cold and dark. Lights flickered. Sharp metal floated in the air. They had to move between broken walls and narrow halls. One wrong turn could trap them forever. At first, the other team followed, but then they changed course. They tried to lock doors behind them. They took tools. One even tried to block Ryan from saving a person caught under a beam. Eric stopped them. This is not a race. If one fails, we all fail. The other team said nothing and moved ahead. Minutes later, a loud crash shook the station. Part of the ceiling broke off. Fire spread. A wall of gas pushed between the two teams. The other group was now cut off and trapped. Jake looked at the path. He saw a way through the fire, but it was risky. They will not make it unless we go back, he said. Eric nodded.
House.
Then we go. Ryan led the way. He used a shield to block the heat. Natalie opened jammed doors with a pulse tool. Lily gave first aid to one who had passed out. They carried 2 people to safety. The others followed. When they reached the end, both teams stepped out together. The judges said nothing at first. Then a voice called the result. The humans passed. The other team passed only because of the humans. Later that night, Jake sat alone. His leg was hurt, but he smiled. No one has ever helped a rival before, he said. Natalie gave him water. That is what makes us different. The 4th trial was next. It was the hardest one yet. A mission inside a dying star system. The sun was near its end. Heat storms circled the sky. Their goal was to reach a power station on a spinning moon and turn it off before it exploded. They had only one ship. No help, no rescue. Queen Alina stood at the launch pad. She looked at Eric and the team. Come back alive. That is all I ask. The ship flew into the burning system. The heat made the windows glow red. Shields dropped. Lights flickered. But they kept going. Ryan took the lead and jumped out first. The others followed fast. The power station was shaking. Fire rained from the sky. They found the control room and shut the cord just in time. A blast pushed them across the floor. Jake hit his head. Lily checked him. He was alive. They had made it. When they returned, the crowd stood in silence. Then the cheering began. Even the ones who once doubted now clapped. For trials done, one left. But no one had ever come this far without loss. Till now. The last trial was the hardest. It was called the Trial of Spirit. It tested the heart, courage, and the will to never give up. The teams had to face their deepest fears and prove they could lead others in the darkest moments. The humans gathered together before the start. They were tired, but strong. Eric looked at his team and said, "This is what we have trained for. We finished this together." The trial began in a dark forest on a cold planet. The trees were tall and strange. The wind howled like voices in the night. The air was thick and the ground was soft and cold. They had to find a way through without losing hope. The other teams disappeared quickly. They lost their way or stopped moving. The humans faced many tests. They saw visions of failure. They heard voices trying to scare them. They felt pain they had never known, but they stayed close. They held hands. They spoke softly to each other. They shared stories of home and dreams of the future. Cared for the team when they were weak. Ryan protected the group from dangers in the dark. Natalie fixed broken tools. Jake solved puzzles on their path. Eric led with calm and steady steps. At one point, Eric saw a deep pit blocking the path. The team had no ropes or ladders. The only way was to trust each other. He looked at the team and said, "We jump together." They held hands and jumped as one. The ground below was soft. They landed safely. The final step was a climb up a tall hill. The top waited a bright light. It was a test of spirit. Whoever touched the light first would prove they had the strongest will. The humans moved slowly. They knew it was not a race. It was about trust. Eric reached the top last. He held out his hand and touched the light. The glow surrounded the team. The trial ended. The watchers from the far systems were silent. They had never seen a team finish all 5 trials without losing hope or breaking trust. Queen Elena Grant was waiting. She smiled and said, "You have done what no one thought possible. You are true champions." The humans returned to the broken planet. The people they saved cheered. The camp was no longer a place of fear, but one of hope. The story of these humans spread across the galaxy. They were no longer just Deathworlders, and they were leaders, protectors, champions. And the galaxy learned a new truth. True strength was not in weapons or power. It was in heart, courage, and the will to help others. The humans stood tall, not because they were perfect, but because they never gave up. And that made all the difference.